Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate being recognized, and I appreciate the testimony of the witnesses. I want to start out and say I'm completely convinced all your hearts are right. And we'll make that point first, but I want to put a little piece of history in. We always have to do that for our own locale, and point out that the Iowa legislature was the first state legislature to accept the provisions of the original Morrill Act. They did that on September 11th, 1862. And they would have been the first designation of a state college, state agriculture college, had it not been for K-State, bumped us on the third turn and slipped in ahead of us. So we pay attention to land-grant colleges and know what it means and to have the resources. And I would prefer that they were based on the land, especially when you're focused on agriculture rather than on the cash that came with the 1890 version. However, that's where we are today, and land's a lot harder to come by, so I don't see any reason to try to change that. It's just I noticed the distinction. And I wanted to point out also that, listening to the spirit of this discussion here, that the inner cities in America are a disaster. Anything that we look at from the data out of the inner cities, especially young men, especially young African American men, it is a resource to this country that is being that we're just not figured out how to mobilize. We haven't figured out how to lift them up and get them into the flow. And I say that because the next statement I want to make is, and I'd sense this from Dr. Bell in particular, but I think the rest of you, the very best place in the world to raise a family is on a family farm. And if we're going to do good things to help our society to go in the right direction, then for me, if we can get people going to the farm and raising their families there, they learn about the whole spectrum of life, the cycles of life on livestock from birth to death to, we call it now harvest, rather than that other word that seems to abhor people in the inner city. And it's what I grew up all around and had to wash it off my hands afterwards. All new wealth comes from the land. And we can trace every dollar right back to that soil. So this is inspiring to me in these ways. But I'm getting to a but. And it is this, that I have a deep conviction and strong support for Ward Connerly's Proposition 209 in California. I've invested a significant amount of my legislative time in that and succeeded to a degree, in fact, in conflict with the current Secretary of Agriculture, Secretary Vilsack. But I'd point out for this committee what that proposition is, and we haven't had discussions in a long time on that, and it says this: the state, and meaning the state of California, that was a constitutional amendment, the state shall not discriminate against or grant preferential treatment to any individual or group on the basis of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin in the operation of public employment, public education, or public contracting. Now, that language of race, sex, color, ethnicity, or national origin is lifted exactly out of Title VII of the Civil Rights Act, and I support it 100%. I think it is the right thing. It's the right thing for us to pour forth all resources and all constitutional focus and all statutory focus to provide equal opportunity. And so my question, and I would start first with Dr. Bell, is this an equal opportunity bill before us, or is it a preferential treatment bill before us?
Thank you, Congressman, for that question. Let me say that, as I indicated before, our institutions, the 1890s and mine in particular, are diverse institutions. My institution in particular consists of about 2/3 African American students, about 13% white students, and about 20% of students who either classify themselves as multiracial or of other race, including Hispanic.
Could I ask you then, is it your expectation that the scholarships that would be granted in your institution under the foundation of this bill would reflect the diversity within your institution today?
I think the total scholarship package that we offer to students, including those resources provided through this bill, would provide opportunities for not only the African American students, but other students as well. We see this as an opportunity to leverage our support for the agriculture departments and for our students.
Thank you. I'm running out of time, I'm sorry, but would that also be your observation then, Dr. Jackson?
Yes.
And Dr. Jones? Then I'd point out that in the bill, there's 4 references here that say, and it's a language that jumped out at me, 4 references that say young African Americans, 4 places. So it seems to me the bill is more specific to this than you anticipate, and I would wonder if you'd be open to maybe making a little more specific language here that would allow for more equal opportunity.
Thank you for that observation. And I think it's important that although we mention the words historical, the word is historically black colleges and universities, we have never been institutions that eliminated or disenfranchised any group of people who wish to come. As a matter of fact, Central State University's charter speaks not to African American students, but it speaks to those of good character who wish to have
Okay,
an
thank you, Doctor. And we're out of time. I'd point out that the word historical doesn't show up here in these 4 references that I made. I appreciate your testimony. Yield back the balance of my time.
Gentleman's time.